Good morning, everyone, and happy holidays. I want to thank everyone for attending Clear the Air, Stay Connected, and Welcome Wireless Solutions webinar. I'm Marcus Wells, the Commercial Manager for 2NDGEAR. Our focus today includes commercial and K-12 education, wired and wireless networking solutions with Brocade and Ruckus, from the data center to the edge, and how we can utilize E-rate funding. Here at 2NDGEAR, we have a nationwide presence in having a consultative approach in helping people stay ahead of the curve when it comes to emerging products and trends to find creative to have implemented at a lower cost than most. We thought it would be important to have this webinar today, as the wired and wireless technology is a key element to any business structure, and to stay ahead of the curve is more crucial than ever. Today our presenters will be Holly Davis, CEO for HighDef 360. We also have Rick Friedman, Product Manager for Brocade, Brian Hunt, Product Manager, Networking, Product Manager for 2NDGEAR. We also have Leslie Zacks. She's the Business Development Executive for the government sector at 2NDGEAR Inside Investments. She will be a key facilitator of any 2NDGEAR or E-rate opportunities that may apply. Today's agenda will be working with 2NDGEAR, why 2NDGEAR. Brian Hunt will be speaking on that today. We also have Network Edge and Market Challenges, Brocade Ruckus Network Edge Portfolio will be discussed, Brocade Ruckus Wireless and Wired Integration, and then we'll be also reviewing a case study from a school district, Lower Dauphin, if I'm pronouncing that right, Rick. And then we have the E-rate funding portion that will be addressed by Holly Davis as well. There will be a follow-up Q&A at the end of the presentation, or it can be scheduled at a later time for any convenience that may apply as well. Again, we have put together an amazing team today that will be introducing themselves shortly that can really bring great value in this segment. We do appreciate everyone attending today, and Brian Hunt with 2NDGEAR, the Network Product Manager, will now introduce himself and speak as of why you would want to choose 2NDGEAR.
Good morning. My name is Brian Hunt. As Marcus said, I'm the Networking Product Manager for 2NDGEAR. Before we get into the benefits of a Ruckus Brocade solution and the wired wireless networking products they offer, I'd like to take a minute to address the question, why 2NDGEAR? Why should you be doing business with us? I think there are many reasons, but I'm going to go over what I believe to be the top four. First is our support and warranty programs. 2NDGEAR will either augment a manufacturer's warranty on new equipment, which many times only has 1 year of coverage, although Brocade and Ruckus are lifetime, or offers a standalone warranty, a 3-year advanced cross-ship, which means your replacements are en route to you as soon as a problem is identified. We do not make you return the damaged product and then send a replacement. This helps us save valuable time in those situations where productivity can be affected. Part of what makes this warranty coverage particularly valuable is the fact that we've been in business for 30 years and we aren't going anywhere. So you know your equipment is covered by an organization with longevity and staying power. The second point is our design and engineering capabilities. 2NDGEAR has engineers and subject matter experts on staff to assist you in identifying the proper solution sized appropriately for your organization. We can be as involved as you need us to be, which can range from pricing out a predetermined bill of materials to being on-site and conducting a full inspection and network analysis. To dovetail with point number one's mention of productivity, we can also design redundancies and hot swap spares into a solution in order to avoid any potential downtime due to hardware failures. The third benefit to working with us is our ability to provide cabling and deployment services. 2NDGEAR has the knowledge, manpower, and resources to offer physical installation and configuration services on all the hardware we sell across the U.S. The last point, and this is my personal favorite, is our ability to transact buybacks. This sets us aside in a big way because it's an area very few people are able to compete with us. We're in the unique position of having a large, full-time staff. We're able to receive, audit, repair, and refurbish all used IT equipment. Further, we have a sales team trained and familiar with both new and refurbished hardware. Why should this matter to you? It matters because we can pay you for your existing infrastructure. Not just switches and access points either, but PCs, laptops, servers, storage enclosures, SANs, tablets, telecom, you name it. 2NDGEAR can send in a team, take your existing hardware out of a production environment, deploy and configure the new hardware, pack up the old, and send you a full audit summary within 30 days, broken down by serial number, condition, and current market value. This capability allows you to offset your purchase of new by monetizing your out-of-date or out-of-production assets. Second Gear's primary goal has always been to provide value and knowledge to our customers, all while being highly competitive and results-oriented. I believe that if we're given the opportunity to demonstrate what we can do, you will like working with us. Thank you all for your time this morning. Next up is Rick Friedman, who's going to address Brocade and Ruckus's product offerings.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Thanks to everybody for being on this webinar this morning, and certainly thank you to our partners at 2NDGEAR. We of course are very proud of our equipment and services, but we also rely very heavily on partners like 2NDGEAR to be able to deliver build solutions and provide services directly to our end user customers. As Marcus said at the beginning, my name is Rick Friedman. I direct the product marketing team for the Brocade Ruckus access switches, the ICX products. As you may be aware, Brocade acquired Ruckus earlier this year. So I've been responsible for the ICX switches for about 3 years here at Brocade. I've also been responsible for our wireless partnerships. I actually worked with my colleagues at Ruckus for over a year before we began the acquisition earlier this year, and it's been an exciting time working very closely with that team. So what I wanted to cover today, oh, there we go, I got my controls, thank you. You know, before I get into the product, I want to think, you know, a little bit about where we're focused and what we're trying to provide for our customers. You know, I've spent a lot of time, both at Brocade and prior companies, talking a lot to customers and trying to listen to what they need, what they like about products, what they're looking for. And what we've heard is, you know, the challenges in that edge, both the wired and the wireless interface to end user customers really hit into 4 key categories. One is just purely reliable connectivity. That is making sure that users can connect either via, you know, plugged into the wire or wirelessly and reliable. And that's become, you know, critical. It's not just, you know, a nice to have. It's something that is absolutely essential for virtually every business organization today to have a way for users to be able to just get access reliably. The second is obviously the growth in number of users and devices. The fact that that's just gone up astronomically over the last several years in BYOD, and people bring their own devices in classrooms and technology, and the use of digital learning, as well as all businesses, both in terms of customers as well as employees. And average number of devices, I think it's now up to 2 to 3 devices per user, and in many cases more devices, just laptops, phones, tablets, watches, games, everything. The third area is security. So while you're building this network, it's really important to be able to protect the network, both access to the network, so restricting users or allowing users who should, as well as data security and privacy on the network. And last, and certainly not least, is cost. And cost is not just the actual expense in purchasing the equipment, but it's the ongoing operating expense, it is the support costs, and it's the complexity and the cost to the IT department to support and maintain that environment. What we at Brocade and Ruckus have done to address those areas really hit, you know, we address those. We think that we provide a really good solution for each of those. So first of all, in terms of reliable connectivity, and that hits both the wireless and the wired side. So one of the things, and certainly I've heard from the customers I talked to and read about, is that, you know, is the reliability. One of the things that hands down about the Ruckus wireless is unanimously, I hear from customers who've done testing, who've done bake-offs, that the Ruckus wireless has the best RF, the best Wi-Fi, not only for performance, but also coverage. So for example, I know that I talked to one of the school districts that they went with Ruckus. They did it because with their prior vendor, they needed to put 1 AP for every classroom. But with Ruckus, they knew that they could reliably put 1 AP to cover at least 2 classrooms. And so therefore, not only providing better service, but also reducing costs significantly by being able to put in half the number of APs and high performance. On the switch side, we also provide high performance switches to provide that underlay because, and again, attested by customers, you have a great Wi-Fi network, those things need to plug into something, and if that wired network can't support the performance, then no matter how great your Wi-Fi equipment is, if your network's the bottleneck, you're just not going to get good performance. Brocade leads the way. We were the first to deliver 40 gig to the closet, and in fact, we have a program now where with some price reductions and some new optics, we can deliver 40 gig to the closet for the same price as 10 gig from our competitors. And we also lead in terms of PoE performance, PoE, PoE Plus, and now PoH support, which is over 95 watts of PoE power. So to be able to plug in more and more APs into our network is critical. In terms of growth, and I'll talk a little bit more about this because I think this is really a strength of both our wired and wireless platform, is as those devices grow, it's really critical to have a platform that supports the scalability, that protects your investment, and the fact that you need to be able to make sure that that environment is going to work for a long term. And so I think, as I'll talk a little bit more in terms of the capabilities of both our wired and wireless platforms, scalability and investment protection and future-proofing are critical elements and key elements of the Brocade Ruckus solution. And maintaining security. A critical component, we've got our own Cloudpath product, which does a great job of onboarding and policy management. Also, our wired and wireless is compatible with a lot of other security products as well. So we have the capabilities to provide control access to the network and to be able to secure the network, both in terms of allowing or restricting users as needed, as well as protecting the data in the network as needed. And last but not least, of course, is reducing the cost. So the things that you need and reducing the complexity. So again, it's not just about reducing the cost of the equipment that you purchase, be able to use it effectively, but also simplifying management that makes it simpler and easier and reduce your cost to maintain that environment, as well as our lifetime hardware warranties, so that you know that whatever you've got will continue to work. And in fact, one of the things about the Brocade warranty is the fact that not only do we have a lifetime warranty, but that also includes fans and power supplies, which some of our competitors don't support. And it's also the open standards and no vendor lock-in, so that you know that you can buy our equipment and you'll know that it will support you and be able to connect to the devices and the software and applications that you're going to be using moving forward. So as I mentioned, Brocade acquired Ruckus about a little bit over 6 months ago, and this is just a quick view of our portfolio. So not only to provide the network access switches and the wireless access points, both indoor and outdoor, we also have a range of control platforms. On the wireless side, we can do, you can run your wireless network either controllerless, cloud managed, a virtual controller in a virtual machine, or a controller appliance. And you can move, in fact, as you move across those environments, you can use the same APs. So again, unlike some of our competitors where you have one solution that works in one type of management platform, as you move to another platform, you can use those same switches and those same APs no matter how you control and management. So that's part of our investment protection. And on top of the hardware, we also provide a number of software and services that we think are really valuable. Location analytics, big data analytics, I mentioned the security and policy, and also monitoring and troubleshooting, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as I move forward. So that's just a quick view of our overall portfolio. We were very excited, as I said, we're very excited about the partnership with Brocade and Ruckus. We worked with them as partners before, and now as the same company, we believe we have a really powerful solution. This is actually a report that was done by an outfit, it's called IHS Markit. It was actually previously known as Infinetics. Then they looked at the scorecard and they looked at what we provided in terms of combining both the Brocade ICX switches and the Ruckus wireless, and they put us in the leadership quadrant. They recognize what we've done, and we believe that together we're going to be a real force in the network and be a market leader in this wired and wireless networking together. I've talked a little bit about it, and I'll go into some of the details, but I think if I had to pick one thing that I think really sets the Brocade Ruckus solution apart is, call it future-proofing, investment protection, scalability. It's about being able to purchase a platform that's going to work for a very long time. A lot of our customers, particularly some of the schools that get E-rate funding, are looking at recognizing that they're not going to be able to replace their, they're going to need to invest in a platform that's going to last them for 7 to 10 years because it's going to be a long time before they get additional funding. Again, a lot of our competitors focus on, like a 3 to 5 year replacement cycle, and they expect you to come in after 3 years and just rip it out and replace it. With the Brocade Ruckus solution, we believe that we have a very scalable platform that will continue to work for many years. So something that you can purchase today, that you can build on and expand and scale and use what you've got, continue to use it, and expand your network, and flexibility to be able to adapt to whatever may be coming. And there's a lot coming, that most of which we can't predict. So these are just some customer quotes, but it's the thing that I hear from our customers consistently about what they like most about our solution. And that's that kind of flexibility and the ability to expand and know that they have a platform that will work for a long period of time. So let me look at each of these technologies, just quickly at each of those. So first on the wireless platform, I mentioned, we've gotten, great feedback from our customers about the technical capabilities of the wireless platform. The heart of the Ruckus Wireless is this BeamFlex technology. And I apologize, I'm a marketing guy, not an engineer, but it's really a unique capability to focus the antennas on the clients. It reliably has, what's shown here on the side is a chart from an independent organization, and we have multiple performance metrics and benchmarks done by third parties that demonstrate consistently the performance of the Ruckus access points and the wireless networks. Consistently, we get better performance out of our access points than any other vendor. And as I said, it's not just purely the performance, it's also the coverage, the fact that as we support more and more clients on an access point, we maintain that performance and things don't drop off. With some of our competitors, and I could go through lots more charts here, but what happens is that a lot of our competitors are looking at 20 to 30 users on an access point and things drop off. With Ruckus, you consistently get good performance and great coverage with large number of users across all the devices. And that, I think, is really the heart of the wireless. If I had to pick a couple of other things to go at, the other thing is, and this is fairly new, is cloud managed. So Ruckus Wireless introduced cloud Wi-Fi this past summer. It's a very exciting product for us. It's really starting to take off. It's really a very simple GUI interface to be able to configure and manage your network. In fact, I actually have this and use this on my own wireless network at home, and even I could set this up within a matter of a few minutes. It's a very simple, intuitive interface to be able to manage your network. Here's a simple diagram, a simple click and point, point and click. It's very simple to configure and set up and manage. And in fact, if you have multiple sites, it's very easy to manage all those sites from one consistent dashboard with configurable reports. We think it's unique, and there are other other vendors that offer cloud-based Wi-Fi. But what's really different about the Ruckus solution is, first of all, it, of course, is our great Wi-Fi and great RF. The fact that you're using our high-end access points, our quality access points to do that. again, as I mentioned before, as part of kind of investment protection, is that you're using the standard Ruckus access points. So if, for example, in the future, you decide that you want to bring it in-house and do either with a virtual machine or with an actual controller, you can repurpose those same access points and move to the other platforms without having to replace them. It's a very simple, intuitive interface. You know, we've really targeted to what we refer to as kind of a lean IT customer. Customers that aren't necessarily network engineers. It's very simple to set up and configure. It's very intuitive to be able to do it, and it's highly scalable. So we're not limited in terms of a small number of access points or small number of users. This can scale to, you know, thousands of access points through this smart dashboard. And coming soon, we will be announcing early next year, we'll be announcing the cloud management for our ICX switches as well. So with the same interface, you'll be able to manage not only your wireless network, but also the wired network as well. And then, as I mentioned, in security, we have a product called Cloudpath that provides both onboarding and policy management for both the wired and the wireless network. So again, it's very you know, simple, intuitive type interface to be able to control what you need on your network, to be able to set up very simple, you know, guest portals, as well as for students or employees or internal networks, all very simply through Cloudpath with certificate-based control and management. The thing that I've heard back on this product is that one of the great things about Cloudpath is that you don't need to be a security expert to understand how to set it up and management. So it's a very simple type of approach and an easy way to do it. As I mentioned, it's also applicable not only the wireless network, but also the wired network. So those are sort of the key points, I think, that really differentiate the wireless network. Let me talk about the switching platform. So the Brocade ICX switch, you know, the switches that we do, it's all based on a scale-out architecture. All of our access switches are one-use stackable switches based on our campus fabric technology. Now, as a company, we do actually offer high-end chassis, but our access switches are very much geared and designed around the scale-out architecture. And I won't go through this in a lot of detail. I'm a marketing guy. I could talk about this stuff for a really long time if allowed to. But I think there are a number of things that really differentiate the product. I mentioned a little bit about the performance and power of our switches. One of the things that we've done, and again, this gets the scalability, is the ability to upgrade the switches. So our access switches come, you know, the base models come with 1 gig uplinks. But what we've done is they actually can be upgraded to 10 gig with a simple software license. So unlike our competitors that you actually have to swap, if you want to go from 1 to 10 gig, you got to take the old switch, throw it away, and buy a whole new one. We can upgrade to 10 gig. Our premium access switch can actually let you go from 1 to 10 gig to 40 gig with a simple internal module that can be replaced. I mentioned the support for 40 gig and PoE plus power on all of our ports. Open standards are a critical part of our, you know, our key platforms for both the wired and the wireless. So we adhere to open standards. It's about, you know, the network is really all about multi-vendor interoperability, and so not locking you into Brocade and Ruckus. I mean, obviously, we'd like you to buy all our stuff, but we've done things that are very standards-based, and it's very simple to be able to add in and interface with other vendors. And that kind of future-proofs it. So the fact that what we've done is allow you to extend capabilities in our products across the network. I mentioned security, about being able to secure the edge with Cloudpath. Also, our switches provide MACsec and IPsec capabilities to secure data privacy within the network, as well as across wide area networks or even to the cloud. And last but not least is Brocade services on top of those, you know, complemented by what's provided by 2NDGEAR, our limited lifetime warranty. We also provide a management tool, Brocade Network Advisor, which is a GUI-based product for being able to manage from the core to the edge as well as the wireless network, all from a single user interface without necessarily having to do things using our CLI. Those are sort of generally it. I think there are 3 key technologies that I really wanted to just touch on that I think really differentiate what we offer. And I think hopefully will make a difference to you in your networks. Stacking is something that virtually all of our competitors offer as well at the access, although Brocade is unique in that we have stackable switches for core and aggregation as well. So we provide stacking all the way across. And of course, that's the ability to extend, easily to scale your networks. What's different about our stacking is first, and it seems trivial, but is a really critical difference, is we stack with standard Ethernet cables. So they're not proprietary. So most of our competitors, you have to buy Ethernet cables from them, so they're very expensive. And related to that is that we support long distance stacking. Because we use standard Ethernet cables and optics, you can do long distance stacking up to 10 kilometers. So instead of necessarily having to put all of the switches in the stack in a single closet, you can spread them across multiple floors or even across multiple buildings. And also our scalability. Most of our ICX switches, you can stack up to 12 in a unit. Our newest, our entry level is only 8, but we can scale up to 12. Most of our competitors can't go beyond 8, and at the entry level, most of them are limited to 4. Another capability we actually just introduced, you may be familiar with, is called ISSU, is in-service software upgrade. We just added this capability to be able to do software upgrades to a switch in a stack one at a time, so that if your mission critical devices or access points are dual home to multiple switches, you can do software upgrades excuse me, with no downtime, as well as hitless failover. So if one switch fails, your entire stack won't go down. So we've got some things that really build in high availability and a lot of resiliency. And we provide stacking at no additional cost. So with a lot of our competitors, you have to buy an upgrade module. There are dedicated ports. Our ports, the uplink ports, are dual purpose, either uplink or stacking. So you don't have to have dedicated ports for stacking, and there's no add-on license to provide that capability. So, what that means is we've provided a capability that really gives you a lot greater scalability. It's a lot less expensive. A large number of our customers are doing stacking. You can do it without, cheaper cables, more distance, and not having to do those upgrade costs to do stacking. The scalability and the high availability really simplifies the managing the network. So it's a real basic capability, but I think really differentiates what Brocade offers in that segment. The second one, and this is a really exciting new technology we introduced about a year ago, but we just released the latest version of it that really extends the capability, is what we call a campus fabric. And Brocade is actually all about fabrics in a network. And what a fabric does is it allows you to be able to add multiple switches, and in our case, different models of the different families across the ICX, all into one simple fabric that's very resilient, that's simple to add to, and provides all managed as a single point. So what the campus fabric does, it really, we talk about as a distributed chassis. So instead of a big chassis, and excuse me, most of our competitors focus on a chassis as core and aggregation, as opposed to the Brocade approach, which gives you an option to do all of the stackable switches. The chassis gives you, excuse me, a single point of management, high availability with redundant controllers, hitless upgrades, ISSU, simple upgrades, and a lot of scalability and performance. And you get all that with Brocade with the ICX Campus Fabric. But it also gives you all the flexibility of a stackable. So what you can do is, with a chassis, you have to buy the chassis, which usually you purchase with a lot of excess capacity, sort of open slots that you don't need. So you're paying a big premium up front for capacity that you might need sometime down in the future. So with the Brocade approach, with the stackables, you can just purchase what you need today. No limitations, and you can scale. You also, with a chassis, are limited to having all your ports in one physical location. With our distributed capability, you can move those out across your campus across multiple floors or even multiple buildings. Also, a chassis has a lot of high power and cooling requirements that we don't have with a stackable. And the other thing is, we offer you a very flexible deployment. So the point is that you don't necessarily need to start with a campus fabric, or if you decide to make some changes, you can do that later. So with Brocade and the ICX switches and the stackables, you can use them as standalone, move to stacking, put them in a fabric, use them as top of rack in your data center. So these same switches have multiple purpose and not locked in. So what Campus Fabric does, and I apologize, it's just a small diagram, and I could go into this in a lot more detail. But Campus Fabric is much more than just stacking switches. So first of all, it has huge scalability. We can stack to up to 36 access switches in a single fabric. So that's over 1,700 access ports in a single fabric. It also covers all of the ICX 7000 families, and I didn't go through into detail, but we currently have four different unique families across the ICX 1000s. And you can mix and match them. So with stacking, you need to have all of the same kind of switch. With a Campus Fabric, you can put in multiple kinds of fabric. So for example, if you have certain applications that need extremely high performance and need 40 gig, then you want our high-end ICX, our premium ICX 7450 with dual power supplies and 40 gig ports. But if you're talking about a smaller area where performance is not as critical and maybe it's a bunch of APs, you could use our entry-level ICX 7150 to connect and pull it all together. It really simplifies management. So first of all, we have what we call zero-touch deployment. So when you configure a Campus Fabric and you add a switch, as soon as you plug a switch into a Campus Fabric port, it recognizes it, downloads the software it needs, and automatically configures it as part of the Campus Fabric, and you're done. The maintenance is automated because it's controlled by what we call the control bridge, the aggregation core switches that is at the heart of the Campus Fabric. That maintains all of the fabric. So you don't need to individually update the switches. It's all managed by the control bridge features. It supports what we call policy and feature inheritance. One of the things that's really great about this stuff is that all of the access switches in a Campus Fabric inherit all of the advanced capabilities of the premium switches. So for example, we had a customer that purchased a number of switches and then later determined that they needed to be able to add some advanced multicasting capabilities. But rather than take out those switches and replace them, they put them into a Campus Fabric, and the premium switch supported the features was automatically available to all of the access ports in the Campus Fabric, so they could effectively upgrade their existing switches without having to replace them. And it simplifies the layer 2 design. So an entire Campus Fabric, those 1,700 ports, are all one logical domain and managed as one IP address. And through our TCO calculations, we can deliver a solution at 75% lower cost than a comparable chassis solution. So we think it's a really exciting technology that really provides a lot of capabilities. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in the way you deploy it today and the way you expand. It simplifies the management of this entire campus as a single IP address. You don't have to buy a big chassis to start with. Buy what you need, expand as you need it, and a lot better scalability. As I mentioned, the investment protection, so that you can reuse switches without having to rip and replace them and upgrade them. And then the high availability, we support ring topologies and multiple links so that if there's no single failure will take the Campus Fabric down. So we're very excited this technology. We think it's a great differentiator in the marketplace. The third and last differentiator I wanted to talk about is Brocade has made a big investment in software-defined networks. As a company, we've invested that. We believe that's the direction. we've done a lot of things in our ICX switches to enable it. So most importantly, it's support for OpenFlow. And we've done some custom things with that we think is the most flexible implementation. The most important thing is what we call hybrid port mode. And what that allows you to do is to be able to support both traditional legacy protocols and SDN OpenFlow flows on the same physical port. And what that means is that you can run both things on the same network. And so what you want to do is, what we find is, to be honest, there are not a lot of people that are using SDN today, but there are a lot of people and a lot of our customers recognize that this is where they want to go, and this is the future of networking. And what this does is, by having OpenFlow in the switch, means that you're going to be able to support that as you migrate it. So when you start thinking about a platform for 7 to 10 years, you're going to want those capabilities. And not only that, the hybrid port mode means that you'll be able to support both and migrate to OpenFlow and SDN without having to reconfigure your network. So you'll be easily to do a migration. So we believe that SDN really is a critical part in future-proofing your network. The fact that what we've delivered to you is SDN enabled, and it gives you that capability to do non-disruptive migrations. So you don't need to set up special networks to do testing or run part of your network with OpenFlow and SDN and the rest of it with legacy protocols. So it's a great way to migrate. And of course, another part of limiting, not having vendor lock-in, the fact that this is an industry protocol that you'll be able to migrate to without being locked into Brocade. And it protects your investment because you'll be able to upgrade the capabilities as for example, even, Brocade is developing SDN applications. You'll be able to use those to enhance some of the capabilities of your existing hardware platform with the software applications as they get developed. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, I've talked about wired and wireless, some of the strengths of our wireless platforms and our wired platforms. Since we've been one company, we've done a lot of work to integrate our wired and wireless solutions, and we believe together we provide an excellent, the best platform. So we've done a number of things to sort of integrate the wired and wireless platform. The first, I mentioned our Brocade Network Advisor. So it provides unified network monitoring, so it can monitor, in addition to all of the Brocade switches, it also can monitor wireless access points and controllers. And the second, I think the most exciting development is in our cloud management platform. So we have cloud management for Wi-Fi. We're going to be adding, I mentioned, the cloud management for switching. We'll have an announcement early next year, so you'll be able to use that for managing both your wired and wireless network. I talked a little bit about Cloudpath. So the fact that you can do the onboarding and policy management consistently across the wired and wireless platforms. We've actually gone out to a third party through the Tolly group to actually certify interoperability. Of course, now as one engineering team, we're working very closely. We do testing of all of our gear before it's released to make sure that it's interoperable, but we've got it certified by third parties. And then we've also done some, consistent financing, and particularly things across with 2NDGEAR. So I know I've gone through a lot of things fairly quickly, but I think that we've provided a lot of capabilities. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about one of our customers, and their story is very consistent about what we've heard a number of Brocade Ruckus customers. In fact, Lower Dauphin School District was actually a customer we first talked to prior to acquiring wireless. But they're very typical. They were, a school district that was looking at, what they were expanding. They had some new one-to-one initiatives with Chromebooks, and even in K-12, it's actually, the growth in, well, particularly in the high school, but even in the K-8, was the growth in wireless devices. So it's Chromebooks in the classrooms, it's students bringing in tablets and being able to do their work, as well as supporting the Common Core online testing. Their existing network just couldn't do it. It couldn't handle it. They had, I think it was an 802.11n network. They had a lot of disruptions. Their classrooms are so dependent on technology today in network, in video, as well as internet access. They couldn't get the bandwidth they needed per student to do the testing, and they couldn't provide a reliable platform for online learning. So they came to Brocade and Ruckus and developed a platform. So they came in, they had done, as I mentioned, they did some testing, and they said, hands down, the Ruckus Wireless was the best performing network, provided solid connections for them across their network, and great performance across of it. And then combined with the ICX campus switches, they went with a 10 gig backbone across their network because, again, having a great Wi-Fi network is really critical, is essential for this. But if you don't have a matching wired network underneath it, you're not going to be able to provide the performance overall to deliver what you need. So they built a platform. They liked, they particularly liked the scalability and the expandability of our network, knowing that they too knew that they'd need something for 7 to 10 years. The fact that they knew that it would be difficult for them to get funding to replace this for many years. So they needed something that was not only cost effective, but would be able to build and grow with them. And they chose the Brocade ICX switches and the Ruckus wireless platforms. So they have today, we have a written case study and in fact a great video on our website that talks about them. So that's kind of a little bit about it. This combined, our Brocade Network Edge, we believe that we have a platform that's simple, secure, and most importantly, scalable. We've done a lot of work to simplify the management with the Ruckus Cloud, with Campus Fabric that simplifies and enhances the scalability of both the wired and the wireless platform. Security, I mentioned, Cloudpath for onboarding and policy management, as well as unified security across wired and wireless, and our data security in the network. And then most importantly, I talked about a number of things, but I think that's the stuff that I think really separates what we have in scalability, in performance, as well as to be able to support the growth for you and into the future, as not only we get more and more devices, but also things like Internet of Things and the growth of use of videos. The dependence on the wired edge is going to become even more critical. So what we deliver is a best-in-class network edge. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Holly.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Great information, Rick. So we're going to change gears just ever so slightly here, but we're going to keep in the same realm and conversation around the technology. So what's really good is that you've already gotten a great overview and an understanding of what the 2NDGEAR does in their relationship and partnership with working with and selling the Brocade Ruckus solution. And how this actually, you've got a good understanding how this actually tie into the classroom and how those are supportive of the classroom. But what I wanted to do, and when we're going to change gears, no pun intended, but we're going to actually talk about here the way that the funding mechanism that is provided by the government, the E-rate program, actually works alongside with helping you build out that infrastructure inside of your network. Whoops. So if you can see here from the slides here, you can take a look at the fact that it says, that I've been obviously working here in the program with E-rate for a very long time. And I've had a great opportunity to have the experience of 20 years of working with the program. Now, when I first say 20 years of working with the program, you're going, wow, is E-rate really that old or has been around that long? And yes, it has. The first year of funding and inception of the program was in 1998. And the reason that that's critical for an understanding of what we're going to talk about here on the E-rate program is that you can understand the evolution, the changes that took place through the E-rate funding program over the years. And the main reason and priority for why the E-rate program was developed through the FCC and through government was because of the No Child Left Behind Act. And with the onset and the coming out of the E-rate and providing for internet access was critical that everybody had a fair chance and opportunity in schools across all U.S. territories to have that all same encompassing experience. Now, knowing that the E-rate program originally was designed to pay for internet access, you can probably imagine that the government back then was not really thinking about wearables. And they were probably not thinking about any of the other types of devices that we have out there today. And in fact, I'm going to take you back, for those of you that were learning on an IBM typewriter, or still used a calculator, or even think about the scientific calculator. You were really just connected with yourself. And so the evolution of technology has dramatically changed that. And some of the things that you've also heard from Brian and also from Rick is that everything in our environment that students are dealing with today and what their expectation is of their experience in a learning environment has evolved and changed. And if you even were to think back 5 years ago, that evolution of change has sped up so much more rapidly than anyone could have anticipated or expected. Now, what is concerning about that, if you were sitting in the chair or the desk of an IT decision maker, and you needed to know that I need to take advantage of a funding mechanism that the government provides that recognizes the fact that they need to get that learning environment to that 10 gig experience, build out those networks, provide that wireless experience, and also be able to handle the speed and the capacity that's necessary to manage all these multiple devices, and to make sure that every school and campus across the U.S. territories has the same access and right to all of that learning environment. Now, for them to be able to do that and provide that mandate, there had to be a major overhaul and change to the program. And what they were able to realize when they went out and did a bunch of case studies, and they interviewed a lot of the school districts out there, including the libraries, and said, where are we today? Where do we need to be down the line? And if we have the average student is having 3 devices today, plus they may even have multiple devices that now in a lot of schools, it's, they're providing those devices, so it's a one-to-one. And then also you have to think about carts and tablets and all the other different devices that are actually in the classroom that have to be supported. And a teacher who is facilitating does not need to take that precious time that they have with those students and trying to help them engage in that learning experience, does not need to have to be distracted by, okay, class, we have to stop now and I've got to help Johnny get online and be able to get at his device to work and connect it. So thinking about choosing the right technology solutions that not only will help you from the core, but even help deliver that same experience at the edge is critical. But then also what's even more critical is that not having that crystal ball to know what you're going to need 5 years down the line makes it even more challenging, and why you need a really strong partner to be supportive of helping get your district to where you need it to be. Now, part of that is also realizing that part of the E-rate program and the changes that the USAC made, who manages the program, they actually changed the program to fund the infrastructure and to help you have that build out. But keeping in mind that in 5 years, you have to live with the solution that you choose today. You have to buy today what will help you 5 years from now, because the government will not be able to provide you with additional funding to help you down the line. Now, if you think about what the Education Superhighway and their study that they did, and they found out that school districts, their networks, and all that wireless connectivity, the WLAN projects that were being put out there, they were not able to actually help the students reach that speed, efficiency, and agility that they needed. They couldn't support the capacity and keep up with the rate of growth that technology was changing and evolving. So because of that, and because the new changes to E-rate and the way that they gave us the ability for the FCC to add additional funding to the program and to change the way that you had access to the money as a school applicant, Now, what they did is not only did they do a set aside of additional billions of dollars just to building out infrastructure, they overhauled the program altogether. They phased out voice services. They wanted to make sure there was more bucket of money for what the program was originally intended for. And it was intended to have that internet experience and that connectivity. Now, the funny part of it is 20 years ago, they didn't think about wireless. But now they're having to, and they're addressing that issue. And also because of the mandate, they're addressing it with the funding that they're allowing the schools to now get access to. So thinking about that path that you take next, knowing that there's money out there, and everybody that applied for money in the new first year of the funding mechanism for E-rate and the changes in 2015, they were funded. Everyone who applied for funding in 2016, they were funded. So taking advantage of getting out there, really deciding what technology it is that you need to deploy to ensure that your schools are future-proofed and ready, but also making sure that you take advantage of some of the unique things that you can do under the E-rate program that you weren't ever able to do before. So I want to mention a couple of them right now to you so you to keep these things in mind. So when you're making a decision and knowing that right now is a really good time for you to consider that you have time. You have time to evaluate. You have time to make that right decision. And part of that is allowing you to actually go and evaluate your partner's technology solutions. But also know that you have lots of options out there that you need to look at. And even if you've not gone down that path, I highly encourage you to actually reach out to your Second Gear team here today and also really get more engaged with them. And they will also make sure that you are learning even more about the products that Brocade and Ruckus provide. And if you haven't done any of those evaluations and you are going down a path and ready to file your 470, there's another unique thing you can do within the program to stay within compliance and also to really make sure that you make the right investment and decision moving forward. And one of those things that you can do is you can put out your bid in your 470 and say that you're going to have a down select and a demonstration as a part of your evaluation. Now, this does take a little bit more time and effort on your part, but it's still critical because you're making a 5-year investment into your school's infrastructure. So ensuring that you take that time to add certain types of things that allow you to have that evaluation and really allow you to make a decision is very, very important. Now, the next time for you to make a consideration or looking at the schedule on what's next is that the government has said that on February 2nd is going to be the first date that you can select a vendor. Now, knowing E-rate rules, that means your bid or your 470 has to be out on the street in public for 28 days. Then you know that you still have quite a bit of time. Looking at today is the 7th of December. You have until even through February to make sure that you have your 470 out there in the allocated time. Now, I will tell you in the past 2 years, as we've seen the evolution of the whole program and how it's become an online administrative program as well, and that it's they've had a few, I would say, hiccups. The program has extended out. I would say if I was to look into my crystal ball and what's going to happen this year, I don't think it will extend out past March 31st this year, but it could. But I would not procrastinate. I'd make the right decision now, evaluate with your partner what is the solution that you need, put out your 470, make a really good decision on what that investment is going to be, make sure that it's future-proofed, make sure you know how much funding that you have available, and don't forget that there's other options for you when you're making your decision and your purchase. You have the option to lease your equipment. You can buy your equipment outright with a capital outlay. You can also do a managed solution. All of these are things that your partner in Second Gear can do to help you in your solution that you're going to go and provide to your schools. So staying within the timeline, understanding how to be prepared, really knowing who to work with, hiring even a consultant, not a consultant like HiDef 360. We actually work on the vendor end to help them from a compliance perspective, but actually reaching out and getting someone to make sure that your paperwork is accurate make sure that you have a good team that's helping support you to file your paperwork and helping you get through the review process very efficiently. So part of that is something that I actually want to ask Leslie here really quick. Leslie actually manages the program for Second Gear. And Leslie, I got a quick question for you. I believe you are not only the expert for the team, but y'all have a program for E-Rate inside Second Gear.
Yeah, Holly, thank you so much for all of the valuable information you provided. And thank you, everyone, for spending part of your day with us. Holly is absolutely right. Tagging on to what she's presented, there's close to $6 billion in E-Rate funding available. And Second Gear is a partner who understands the E-Rate program very thoroughly. We have dedicated and detailed internal processes already built that Second Gear is well qualified to educate all of our customers on the program while ensuring that all of the FCC requirements are met. Our sales staff and internal administrative staff have established solid relationships with all of our customers, and we're all very well qualified to discuss any and all of the managed solutions that might benefit all of our customers. So with that being said, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that anyone might have in regards to anything that Marcus or Brian, Rick, Holly, or myself has presented. And again, wanted to thank everybody for allowing Second Gear to present this information to you today.
Absolutely. Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you. So let's say you're going into a school or a new customer. They've already got a network set up, and they're looking to scale. How would you present that using Brocade, that they can still utilize their existing platform and scale with Brocade? I mean, what can be done or what can't be done without ripping out the whole infrastructure and starting over again?
Yeah, so, yeah, okay. Yeah, well, the thing is that, you know, the Brocade is, I guess I'd say that's a fairly common environment where we're bringing in a network into an existing environment where you're not necessarily doing a rip and replace. So, you know, the network is based on open standards, so certainly you can bring in a Brocade network to complement an existing network. Some of the scalability in terms of, you know, stacking and campus fabric is within that is all Brocade equipment, and Ruckus wireless. But there's nothing wrong with being able to, you know, complement an existing network with a Brocade Ruckus solution. They'll work hand in hand. Obviously, I'm somewhat biased thinking our network would work better and higher performance, but there are a lot of places where our customers do something similar. So that's not really, it's not a problem.
Rick, I have a similar question. In fact, I wrote it out, is that I've been in IT now for about 30 years, and it's rare that we get two different suppliers that can work together. So there's got to be some sort of hiccups. Or what challenges would I run into if I brought in Brocade or Ruckus in an environment that's currently Aruba?
Or Cisco.
Or Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco's probably, you know, certainly a common incumbent and competitor to us. As I said, the interoperability between them, I mean, we're talking about industry standard protocols. The management environments will be different, although, you know, on both Brocade and Ruckus, while we're very proud of our gear and our equipment, we recognize that we're not necessarily the market leader. Clearly, that's Cisco. So we've built a lot of things that support or for interoperability that work across our platform. So things like our Cloudpath onboarding and security will work across you know, Cisco gear as well as Brocade and Ruckus gear as well. So, and as part of, you know, my involvement in their wireless, we've had a long-time partnership with Aruba. So, you know, prior to our acquisition, obviously we're somewhat biased now, but we have a lot of customers that buy Brocade ICX switches supporting an Aruba platform, and that's certainly not uncommon. And we've got a lot of customers running mixed environments. So, and in fact, you know, some of the management capabilities will work across both platforms. So, you know, obviously we'd prefer you buying all the equipment from us, but those we're interoperable with them, so we can coexist with our competitors. I mean, we have to get into details about specific vendors and specific capabilities, but as a general statement, you know, our stuff works fine with Aruba Wireless and Cisco Wireless, and I've got lots of customers and probably got customer references about our switches running on their wireless platforms as well as our Ruckus Wireless running on top of other vendors' wired platforms. So,
okay, thanks.
we run in a multi-vendor environment, and that's, you know, everything I mentioned. You know, you see in my slides, I mentioned many times about no vendor lock-in, and that's a critical part of what we do. As I said, I'd love everybody to be running all of our stuff, but that's not the real world. You know, networking is all about connectivity, and we have to work with everybody.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is Frank here. I have a question in regards to E-rate. My question is, how does a school or library check their funding eligibility? Are there amount available? And also, can we assist them in this process?
I'm sorry, I think there was a little reverberation. I didn't hear the first part of that, and I did get the assist them in the process part.
Just to check the funding eligibility.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's some great resources that you can reach out to Leslie Zacks for, who manages the E-rate program at Second Gear. I work very closely with her, and the great thing is that there's an eligible services list that you have an ability to look at and see all the different technologies that are supported. We didn't go into that in depth today for obvious reasons because of time, but they do provide you that information, and then the entire sales organization at Second Gear is very well trained and adverse on understanding all of the eligible services. Another cool thing too, though, if you wanted to know what you had availability for funding, we also have some great resources for you to go and log in and be able to see what the level of funding that you do have that's provided by the government.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, this is Marcus. Is there any more questions out there? Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for attending this webinar. Thank you, Brian, Rick, Holly, Leslie, the full Second Gear team, and we appreciate the time, as we understand that it's valuable to everyone that is on the line today. And this will also be this was recorded, so if someone does need this again sent to them, we can actually supply that as well. Have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the above. And again, thanks for attending the webinar. Have a great day.